I'm Ramon Newman, CEO, founder of Mavericks, and in this video we're going to talk about why the science of protection of achievement is so important in this day and age. And I've come up with about 4 reasons why. So the first reason why is the fear of loss. And as human beings, we tend to feel more about the pain of loss than we do about the pleasure of gain. We're about 2 to 3 times more highly motivated about the threat of loss than we are by the possibility of gain. And this has been summed up nicely by these great people. Jimmy Connors, the great tennis champion, he actually said, "I hate losing more than I like winning." Bill Gates had another take on it. He said, "Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking that they can't lose." And Peter Lynch, the Fidelity fund manager, he actually said there's been more money lost by investors in anticipating corrections than there has been in corrections themselves. So clearly the fear of loss does play a role in driving our achievement and progress. But too little or too much of it can actually cause us to underestimate or overestimate the effect that it has on our achievement and progress. So therefore, obviously no one loves to lose, and at the same time no one's bigger than the game. So we can't really be lulled into thinking that we can't be affected by changes or reactions that haven't yet come up or arisen or we can't yet perceive. So like I said in the first video, we're not invincible, but we need to do things that allow us to have a more balanced, right psychology to make the decisions, to take the actions that, one, help us really neutralize the negative reactions, if there are any. 2, gives us ability to be in a better position, in a better state to handle the change and the uncertainty and the challenges. And 3, it really focuses or puts us in that more growth motivated mindset versus that fear of loss motivated mindset. So that's number 1, the fear of loss. Number 2 is costly mistakes. Because how many of us have engaged in this process of conceiving, believing, and achieving, or know people who have, and in that process we encounter disruption and distraction and disturbance and corruption and issues and problems that really make that a difficult process. Perhaps we achieve what we want, but we can't replicate it, we can't build on it, or maybe just lose the achievement outright. Perhaps some aspect of our health, wealth, happiness, and relationships gets diminished in some way. So clearly, really having some level of protection as you're achieving is very, very important. Otherwise, why achieve? So what are some of the things that you feel are important to protect? Some fires that you may be fighting already, or perhaps you don't want to have to fight, but you might have to. And obviously it's things like who you are, your own authenticity and integrity, your X factor position or skill, your purpose. Perhaps it's things to do with your health, wealth, happiness, and relationships. And then there's also vulnerabilities, yours and others. And vulnerabilities are things like kind of aggravation, agitation, ignorance, arrogance, corruptness, illusions, delusions, stresses, indecisiveness, or bad impressions that get built up inside of you and inside of others that have the potential to cause a lot of problems. And then there's vices, and vices are things like revenge, hatred, greed, anger, lust, vanity, jealousy, false attachment of any kind. Now it's certainly possible to have protection of and from those things I just mentioned by utilizing certain strategies and technologies and programs that really allow you to activate this protection around your achievement and progress. So that's number 2, costly mistakes. Number 3 is constant dynamic change that in this day and age we're constantly subject to. And clearly, as a leader with tremendous responsibility to move things forward and to be able to give more and more value to the world, so not only the world benefits, but you have a long-lasting business, you need to be able to handle this or have stability amidst it. And this is clearly something that is important right now, because based on statistics, that in the last 50 or so years, 88% of companies that are on that Fortune 500 are no longer on that list. And another example is that there's been very top leaders, aged between 30 and 55 approximately, of top companies like Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Tata Motors, Nintendo, Samsung, Apple, and Fonterra, big dairy company out of New Zealand, who have actually lost key talent and leaders and CEOs due to health complications, due to suicide, and conflicting and mysterious circumstances. And true stories that have turned into major motion pictures like The Big Short, around the global financial meltdown, and Wolf of Wall Street clearly validate the need for there to be a science of protection of achievement in this day and age. So that is number 3, constant dynamic change. Number 4 reason why it's so important to have a science of protection of achievement is because what I call the primary influencer effect. Now, as a CEO, you clearly have the most primary influence on the performance of your company. Whatever you're thinking, feeling, doing, saying, projecting is having a huge influence on everyone around you, consciously and subconsciously. So if you're projecting lack and fear, then basically lack and fear gets reflected back to you. If you're projecting abundance and possibility and value, then that gets reflected back to you. So all the situations, all the circumstances, all the people that surround you, or the experiences you're having right now have ultimately been created through your thinking, feeling, deciding, behaving, and doing. So therefore, you really want to be on that most developed level possible inside of yourself to have the most positive evolutionary thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors for yourself and those that you lead. Because the more responsibility for growth that you have, and the inherent risks and problems and stresses that come with it, then the more developed you need to be on the inside to be able to handle that growth and those issues in a more protected way, so you're not derailed and things don't unravel. So that's the 4th reason, really knowing that you're the primary influencer on the performance of your company. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to really activate the science of protection of your achievement.